Welcome to the heart of Nature's Sanctuary, where the delicate dance between humanity and the wild unfolds. In this documentary, we embark on a journey to the Rimpa Conservancy Center, a haven for biodiversity and testament to the tireless efforts of those committed to preserving our planet's natural wonders. Join us as we explore to the intricate web of life, witness the challenge faced by both flora and fauna, and discover the inspiring tales of conservation that echo through the sprawling landscape of Rimpa. Together, let's unravel the narrative of a dedicated community striving to ensure the harmonious coexistence of man and nature in this precious corner of the earth.
We are at Rimpa Estates Wildlife Conservancy, and in the distance you can see the Ngong Hills. The Olesane family has owned the land for over 60 years, and they've been farmers from the beginning. And we raise Dorper sheep and Simmental cattle. They're both purebred, and we sell them to neighboring farms to strengthen their bloodline when they are raising sheep and cattle. These are our Simmental bulls. It's a bloodline that came originally from Switzerland, 50 plus years ago. But then over the years, as we breed them, we inseminate them with semen. So they would bring in semen in like frozen packages, and then we would inseminate them to make sure that we get new DNA added to the bloodline. And when it's rainy season like this, you can see that they get to be quite healthy. They only eat natural grass. So during the day they roam and they eat, and at night they come into a pen and stay safe. We don't give them names, like individual names, but they do have records. We have records to know when we got them, and that way we can keep track of which males breed with which females, so we can control the lineage. During the day, all of our animals graze out here and eat grass, so that is their primary food source. We separate the adult males and females, and then the calves in different groups. That way they're safe and we can control their breeding habits. And during the day, our shepherds travel with our herds to protect them from any predators that might be around. We've never had problems during the day. We do have hyena, but mostly they come out at night. So at night we have to bring them all in to a pen, keep them safe. So as soon as it gets dark, they need to be in our pens, keep them safe. Because if we miss any, and they're out here once the darkness comes, the hyenas come in quickly and attack. But it happens rarely. During the day, there have been occasionally lions that might travel here from the Nairobi National Park. So this is straight east, and the park is that way. The lions don't come very often, mostly only when it's a big drought or right when the heavy rains start, because the lions don't like hunting there where it's wet, so they might follow the riverbeds, which lead into our farm. But when that happens, we call KWS, and they'll come in with their helicopters and tranquilize them and try to transfer them back to the national park. During the drought, we do pump water all over the farm, so they are able to drink water even when the grass is more dry, so it's never a problem with them having a good water source. if it gets really bad, like it did this past November when the 2 rainy seasons kind of fell short, we do have to bring in extra supplemental food, grass from the Masai Mara area, or silage to supplement the food for the cattle for the most part. The sheep do just fine even during the drought. They can nibble on the stubs of their dry grass, and they're very resilient. They're doing okay.
The Conservancy only dates back to 5 years ago. That's when we got our license. But the farm dates back 60 plus years. Our founder started this farm in the 1960s. And the mission of this farm was to grow Jopa sheep and Simmental cows. And over the years, this was a wildlife migration corridor. So we had a lot of wildlife. So later in the years, 5 years ago, we figured since we have wildlife, because our main goal or our mission is to create an ecosystem that is both good for the wildlife and habitat, but also good for the livelihoods of the people who live in that area, us and our community around us. We decided to get a license so that we can make an economic impact. So that's the history of Rimpa. And Rimpa, by the way, means paradise in Nepal. So this was a paradise, and that's what the founder thought this was. He came to this land and he was like, this is paradise. And I'm going to make my paradise out.
The biggest challenges right now, it's the changing weather. With the droughts that we've been having more frequently, it's been harder to predict when to plant, and that's not our plight, it's everybody's problem in certain parts of Kenya. So not only do we get our livelihood from raising cattle and sheep, but we also have the shamba, and we use that mainly to feed ourselves and the workers. And it's harder to predict when to plant, so we can raise enough food to be self-sufficient. Also to depend on the grass being green at least a few times during the year so our cattle and sheep can survive. So that feels like the biggest thing. With that drought, we've also lost a lot of wildlife. So, and I know it's not just us. Many conservancies lost a majority of their wildlife this past year when the drought really hit us hard when the November rains didn't come last year. And then again in the March, April, May rains didn't really hit hard enough. So we lost a lot of our wildlife as well as a lot of our livestock. Some of the species did okay. Things like giraffe and ostrich, who don't eat the grass, did better at surviving. But other breeds, like we lost all of our hartebeest, and we've talked to other conservancies, and they lost all of their hartebeest as well. So I don't know where the species lives now, but there are none on our conservancy. We lost the majority of our zebra, but we still have them. And then other species seem to do really well. The impala, which we have really big herds of impala still on the land here. They're doing just fine. So it's working with the weather. We do pump water, so they always have a water supply, but there's not always a food supply for them. Another big pressing issue we have as a conservancy is facing the pressures from the outside world. As Nairobi grows closer to us, there are pressures from the surrounding towns that they need more land to do the things that they do. A while back, when the SGR was being built, we struggled with making sure they didn't come through our land, because at one point we found them on our land, plotting how the SGR would pass through us. But for that one, we got lucky and they went right past us, so now it passes the corner of the farm. Another situation, we have a sewerage that's trying to be installed to serve the city of Kisarian. And they were trying to take some of our land to put a sewerage on our land. So we were in a constant fight to prevent that from happening. And then we have neighbors who do things like build a quarry, which is encroaching on our land and knocking down our fence. And so you go and there's a 100-foot cliff, like 30 meters straight drop, and our fence is falling. And it feels like the authorities who should have the power to prevent that don't see the importance of helping us and the Conservancy and the wildlife that are affected by it. So it's an ongoing thing, and I know we're not the only people who struggle with land battles and outside forces trying to take what isn't theirs. But the Olesane family has been here for 60 plus years, and they are Maasai, and they are farmers, and they're using the land the way they see best, the way they always have. And what's beautiful is that the wildlife has always been here. It's always been a part of the shared ecosystem, and they've done an amazing job of maintaining that over the years and embracing it.
Having wildlife and your domestic animals together can be a challenge because of the tick-borne diseases that the wildlife bring. So, for example, during the drought season, a lot of wildlife died. And a lot of wildlife usually have a lot of ticks on them. So when they die, all those ticks fall, and they're now looking for the next host to eat from. And that next host that's left is people and our domestic wildlife. Our domestic animals. So one of our ways that we mitigate this is we have a dip. A dip is just like this kind of a swimming pool for cows. So they dunk in there, and there's a chemical that takes care of the tick. And it's a challenge because it's not cheap. So it's kind of a financial burden for the person. Because it takes a lot of money every week because you have to dip them every week to keep up with the ticks. Otherwise your animals will die.
Yeah, when people come to enjoy our space, whether it's camping or playing disc golf, they also have to deal with the ticks. When the wildlife population reduces, then we become the primary target. So it's frustrating. Anyone who has a wildlife conservancy, I'm sure, goes through the seasonal impact of having ticks. During the drought, there were tons and tons of them. Now that it's raining, they reduce. But I'm sure as soon as the rain stops, the tick population will start to boom. We understand that everyone's struggling, and typically people poach because either they're hungry or they need money. And we understand their difficulties. It's everyone's difficulty. We struggle. It goes up and down, right? Sometimes we do well when the animals are fat and we can sell a bunch. Then we do well, and other times when it's dry and no one's buying anything, we don't sell. So we know how it is for our neighbors. But it's frustrating because we know that so many species are endangered, and we do our best to protect them, but we can't be everywhere all the time. So we do have poachers who come in at night and hunt and kill things like giraffe, which is a shame because they are endangered. And then during the holidays, we struggle with the neighboring kids because they're out of school. They don't know what to do, and the parents say, get out of the house, go play, go do something, or even worse, go bring us some food. So quite often we have kids with their dogs running through the farm, hunting during broad daylight. And it's a little easier to catch them because they're not so well organized. And we understand that they're having a difficult time. So, when we have to, we get KWS involved. We can track the people who hunt and steal from us.
I think it's safe to say that our future plans are kind of the same. The goal here is to continue with the ecosystem as is. We're trying to be as natural of an environment as we can. And we think about the satellite cities that are forming around us, like Rogai, Kiseria, and all of this. We are your lungs. Really, we are your lungs. We're here to provide that ecosystem, that place that the community can run to. When you think about, like, for example, young people today, mental health is a big issue. And what better way to curb mental health than to be outside in nature? So I think for us, our goal in the future is to be the same, to be the place that the community can go to, a place that, can help the cities be a breathing space.
We offer things like camping, picnics, this new sport called disc golf as a place to involve the community. We're trying to get more people to come and understand the value of spaces like us as they become less and less common. Going to a national park is great, but not always convenient and affordable, and we are located in a place that puts us right at the fingertips of so many young people. And we're trying to get more community involvement, whether it's planting trees, having small festivals to celebrate whatever it might be that people want to celebrate, and just be that calm place of nature so they don't have to travel really far, and find a moment of peace where you can appreciate the importance of having trees and open spaces like this. So that's why we applied to become a wildlife conservancy about 5 years ago, to gain the recognition and the support of the Kenya Wildlife Service to help us fight off those encroachments, whether they're poachers or land grabbers. The biggest ongoing project that I've got going on is a game called disc golf, and you're seeing them play it behind us here. It's very popular around the world, but it's new to Kenya and much of Africa. So we like to have schools come and either come for a day visit or even come overnight and camp. And when we do that, we encourage the school to embrace the nature part of their curriculum and emphasize how Conservancy is such a necessary part of Kenya and its culture and the future of Kenya going forward. I have a small group of bones that animals, when they die here on the farm, I like to bring those together and share those with the students so they get a chance to see those. And I was a teacher myself back in the United States before I moved here, so I enjoy sharing that passion with them. So when kids come and they camp overnight, it helps them gain independence and appreciate that a space like this is not so common anymore. I wish it were more common, but we need them to appreciate how places like this are a big part of their life, or hopefully will be a big part of their life going forward. We do tree planting activities with them. We talk about how this space belongs to the animals even before us. They can see how the space is clean and free of trash and debris, so that when they come, once they leave it as clean as how they found it. And I hope that mentality can spread outside of when they're in spaces of nature and conservation. So as they travel throughout their life, they don't contribute to the trash that gets tossed out car windows so much of the time. It spreads, right? So if we can instead spread that feeling of pride in having a clean country that embraces things that grow wild, instead of everywhere you look you see human trash on the ground. It's depressing, but when you look around you see this, it's not. It's helped with mental health spaces like this.